Hey guys, Dantix here. So Assassin's Creed Valhalla was announced and I couldn't be more hyped for the return to the series and for another Viking themed game. Recently it was mentioned to me that there's a giant controversy about the inclusion of female Vikings and a female playable character. Naturally I thought it was pure idiocy at its finest, so I took to the internets to find this controversy and to try to understand it. What I came across may surprise you. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. There's no controversy at all. There's the odd troll here and there, and there is with any topic, but I couldn't find significant backlash for the choice to include females. I did find some deleted tweets with only 1 or 2 likes, but I went into it with a massive confirmation bias as I went out looking specifically for it, yet nothing. The funny thing is, all this has brought to light for me is the fact that there's an unpunished movement, at least by select journalists, to farm clicks by painting gamers as a majority sexist and bigoted bunch. What am I talking about? Well, check out this article by Kotaku. Yes, I know, whenever something like this happens, Kotaku seems to be the one stoking the fire. They're circling the drain and desperately reaching for any form of relevancy. In this case, they published an article, Assassin's Creed Valhalla devs preemptively shut down BS concerns about female Vikings. The article is obviously pure dribble, starting with the eloquent and thought-provoking opening statement, "Women exist, this is a basic fact of life," condescending so thoroughly as to suggest the people in question are Neanderthals incapable of basic comprehension. However, if we put the pure hot garbage writing aside for a second and focus on the topic, we can see that it's a preemptive strike at a target that essentially doesn't exist at all. Kotaku goes as far to add flavor to the title by using profanity, BS concerns, because why not get emotional about something that might happen? Let me fix their title for them. Assassin's Creed Valhalla developers discuss the merit of female Vikings in their game. There. You don't even have to pay me, Kotaku, that's for free. This is what the article should have been. However, as we've seen in the past, Kotaku lives off stirring or creating controversy where there is none. In fact, if you look through the comments on Twitter, the reverse is a reality. The trolls suggesting females don't belong are getting basically no response, whereas more people are suggesting they wish to play as the female protagonist and are upset that they didn't show more of her. I even read a tweet from a fairly influential game dev that will go unnamed, stating that he would rather they remove the ability to play as a male at all, which obviously is purely moronic and the opposite of inclusivity. However, reporting on these topics don't suit Kotaku's narrative and doesn't stir up clicks, so we know why the article was written. The so-called journalist thought of a topic and looked for ways to support his argument. He found one in the article, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, the history behind the Viking legend. It's a dev article about the rich and detailed history of the Vikings, which was often written from an unflattering perspective. It's a great Q&A article and worth a read. However, at the bottom it asks, players can choose to play Eivor as either a man or woman, and we see even women fighting in the trailer. Were women warriors in Viking culture? To which it answers, the archaeological sources are highly debated on that specific issue, but the fact is, and I think that's what's really important, is that it was a part of their conception of the world. Sagas and myths from Norse society are full of tough female characters and warriors. It was a part of their idea of the world that women and men are equally formidable in battle, and that's something Assassin's Creed Valhalla will reflect. Logical, well thought out and respectable. I just want to make it clear that ultimately they're making a video game, and an RPG at that. There will be those who want to roleplay as a female, and that's okay. In the end, there are going to be a lot of historical inaccuracies in an RPG. It's the nature of the very function. I mean, look here. There's a Saxon warrior jumping on his friend's shield. Do you think there were warriors like that in the 9th century? No. So it's inconsequential if Vikings were females or not. Even though normal people aren't complaining, I thought I'd make it clear anyway. So this Q&A article addresses their reasoning for females being in the game and isn't a preemptive strike of sorts. However, if we jump back to the Kotaku article written by a hormonal teenager, were there female Viking warriors? Who gives an F? This is a question, Kotaku, so next time use a question mark, mate. I'm not a journalist, and I don't claim to be, but the tone used in this article is the real question. You would be giving an F if they chose not to include women. So he goes on to say, considering how a vocal minority has reacted to women being added into games in the past, it's no surprise that Ubisoft wanted to get ahead of the nonsense. I like how it's now a minority. There's a minority in every aspect of life. There's still a minority of humans that are Nazis, still a minority that want to marry animals, and even a tiny, insignificant minority that follow Kotaku. He references players liking FemShep in the Mass Effect series, but refuses to note that no one actually responded negatively on her inclusion. The simple fact that a lot of players enjoyed using her means the majority aren't sexist a-holes like he's trying to paint. Cassandra, the female lead in Odyssey, is another example he includes that completely counters his own original point that males care about female warriors being in games. The Battlefield controversy where females are in war was referenced, but you're talking about a tiny sect of people who rightly argue that women were not in the front lines of the war, at least for those factions. However, as someone that doesn't care about historical accuracy in video games, I was completely fine with it. If you look at that tiny minority side, it's not that there's females in the game, it's that they felt that developers were deliberately trying to insert politics in their games instead of focusing on the actual gameplay. This is of course true, as it was admitted by EA multiple times, but let's not go into that. Whether or not you care is the question. You simply can't dismiss their opinion as bigotry because it suits a narrative, just like you can't simply say that anyone who doesn't agree with you is wrong. If it was just the matter of females being in the game, then why did it sell terribly and other games with female leads sell so well? There's an absolute legion of games that include female leads, but also sold extremely well with this cis male audience that everyone likes to portray as ignorant, spoiled, backwards a-holes. I can't think of a major RPG right now that's over a 9 that doesn't let you play as a female. Even the latest Tomb Raiders were incredibly successful. If the majority were bigoted, they simply would not sell those kinds of games. It's basic logic. I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting tired of the medium I love assuming the worst of us. Even making this video, I'll come under attack for being sexist and bigoted, even though I've stated multiple times that I'm 100% for inclusion. This happens because I understand both sides instead of blindly attacking anyone that dare challenge the status quo. This problem exists because people share information without evidence, and journalistic mediums like Kotaku will write a narrative that they think will spark debate and therefore bring them ad revenue, even though it's not at all true. Journalism exists to provide us unbiased news. That means understanding all sides. We can throw the unbiased journalism right out the window with this article, but let's put that aside for now. Journalism also exists to bring us news, yet this isn't news at all, it's purely an opinion. So how did it get to this point, where journalism no longer provides us factual, actual news? Well, think of it this way. Imagine you're a journalist. You tell the people the news of the day. They're interested, they listen, and you get paid. Tomorrow you tell them news again, but they're less interested because nothing new is really happening. The next day, a rival comes in and stretches the truth a little bit to elicit fear and intrigue. Suddenly, he has all the audience and you're sitting there with your journalistic morals, but no wine for your children. Eventually, you break, and thus begins the battle for outrageous titles and uncredible sources. Some outlets take that to the extreme, trying to invent stories and hoping that their narrative comes to pass. The major narrative in the gaming space is obvious to anyone paying attention lately. But swing the pendulum too far one way and it's gonna swing back the other, and I really don't want to see that happen. So thanks for watching, guys. Let me know below what you think. I'm really interested. Honestly, I'm hoping there isn't a massive fragmentation between game developers who feel forced to meet particular standards within the community and those who just want to make good games. At the end of the day, I'm a gamer. If it was up to me, I would avoid everything around the internet and simply lock myself in a room to enjoy games like AC Valhalla, but alas, the echo chamber echoes my way and I feel I need to do something about it. I'm sorry that there's no actual news in this video, which is a hypocrisy in itself, but I just had to speak my mind. I'll be back with more Valhalla news very soon, so keep your eyes on /Stantix. See you later, friends.